They were afraid that the Court of Appeal is going to give INEC a favorable response. The military came and annulled that election and disbanded INEC. And at that time, my junior brother Buhari Bello lost his job also, together with Nwosu. Now, how come with this historical narrative? Some of us are alive. We are participants in that process. There are some people here who are talking who have never been part of the process. And then you are coming out painting certain historical narratives which are wrong. Please, let's honor ourselves and uphold what is right and do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, Senator Titus has the floor. After Senator Titus, then, of course, we have Senator Osita, and then Senator Sadio, SAS, Afolabi, and then Senator Solomon Lamilekon will round up so that we can just put the vote, please.
Mr. President.
You want to speak? Okay.
Distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Statengizam. I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, as you can see, this issue has generated a lot of interest, not just because of the personality involved. It is because INEC, being a very critical institution in the promotion, advancement of democracy, would naturally attract attention, either for good or bad. I want us to situate our debate in the context of national service and intellectual excellence, which Professor Humphrey Nwosù is supposed to exemplify. Nwosù was a professor of political science, someone who by training was supposed to deliver excellent election to Nigeria. Humphrey Nwosù was also appointed for national service. From these two backgrounds, he did not achieve any of them. They say to whom much is given, much is expected. A professor of political science heading INEC could not deliver result. That is how you can assess him. It doesn't matter whether the circumstances were positive or not. If it were not positive for him to do so, he would have resigned. He didn't resign, which means he stood out to do the job. So on that score, he did not succeed. Now, national service. When you are called to serve the country, what you are supposed to do is to go to every extent to defend and deliver your mandate. As far as we are concerned, this gentleman did not conduct himself properly enough to deserve any national recognition at this moment. He did not deliver.
Thank you. My colleagues, you see, we have a lot on our other paper, but I will not deny you the right to speak. People want to speak, you want to speak, but please try to summarize what you are going to say. And we'll allow you one minute, please. Just 1 minute, so that we can get over this and then move forward. Senator Onyewuchi.
No, you cannot.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I had called him already.
Yes,
sorry.
Mr. Senate President.
I'm sorry for that.
I'm not sure when it's my turn that you are not saying people should speak for 1 minute. And even you also forgot that you have called me. Something must be wrong.
Show your name. It's an oversight.
Yeah, Mr. President, my name is Osita Izunaso. I represent Imo West. I just want to draw the attention of the Secretariat to the fact that I'm one of the sponsors of this motion, and they wrote Imo North for me. It should be Imo West, not Imo North.
Secretariat, please take note.
Now, Mr.
The sponsor, that stands corrected.
Mr. President, it is important that we do not sit here to distort history. We are legislators, and we are representing the people. take a census of Nigerians and ask them what they think about Professor Humphrey Nwosụ, they will tell you he was a hero. So for us to sit here now and begin to distort history is not fair for our democracy. It's not even good for the country. Mr. President, I want to draw your attention to what happened on June 10. We're talking about June 12. Justice Ibeme, as early as 9:30 on June 10th, said there will be no election. And Professor Humphrey Nwosụ tried to reach the head of state. He couldn't reach him. He couldn't reach the Attorney General. And there was an emergency meeting of National Defense and Security Council, which Professor Humphrey Nwosụ audaciously attended uninvited and told them that the materials had been sent out and that he was ready for the election. Uninvited in the military council, he went there. That is courage of the highest order. And it was after he spoke that President Ibrahim Babangida have no choice than to ask him to conduct the election. Mr. President, we have human beings who are alive. Today, Mr. Boss Mustafa, the immediate past SDF, and late Mohamed Waziri, we are the SDP returning agents at the collection center. Yesterday, when this matter broke up, I had to call Boss Mustafa. I had to call him. I said, Boss Mustafa, what happened at the collection center? And he narrated to me how courageous Humphrey Nwosụ was. And said, without Humphrey Nwosu's courage, you can't even talk about election. In fact, Buhari Bello, who was INEC legal director, was the one that was running in between Humphrey Nwosụ and the NDSC. And Buhari Bello is still alive. He will testify to you how courageous Humphrey Nwosụ was in that exercise. Mr. President, Senator,
thank you. You have 1 second remaining. I give you more time.
No, yes, please.
Your protest because you protested.
Yes,
so,
please.
So
Senator,
but your time is off. 1 second.
No, Adam Oshimole wanted to distort history. I won't let him do that. Humphrey Nwosụ, in his book titled "Laying the Foundation for Nigerian Democracy," laying the foundation for Nigerian democracy. My account of June 12th.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is off.
Entire result.
Also, Shoaib Afolabi. I'm just trying to be fair.
I have the floor.
When someone here speaks, another person having divergent view should speak. That's it's a balanced thing.
I have the floor, please. I have the floor, please.
Go ahead. Go.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a few months ago, this hallowed chamber celebrated the late Dr. Ogbonaya Onu. It was unanimous. On that occasion, I stood up and I spoke not just as a senator, I spoke as the secretary of Southwest Senators Caucus. And in fact, we regarded Ogbonaya Onu as somebody from Southwest. There was no controversy. There will be other eminent Nigerians that were brought here. We celebrated them in less than 5 minutes. There was no controversy. Today, I speak as the senator representing the memory of M.K. Abiola. And that we are even discussing this, bring back the pain of the loss of an illustrious Nigerian from Ogun Central Senatorial District. To attempt to immortalize or honor anyone who was involved with the annulment of June 12th that led to the death of M.K. Abiola is to undermine the insufficient recognition that will be given to him. It is indeed to also set a very bad precedent and to also make it very clear. If Humphrey Nwosụ were to come from Ogun Central, if indeed it was to come from Abeokuta, anyone who participated in the June 12th debacle, regardless of the part of the country, including Abeokuta, I will stand up to speak against such a person. And you also know that even people from Southwest who were accomplices in the June 12th saga, they have not been forgiven tomorrow. If any of them was brought here, I will speak against him. Therefore, this debate is unnecessary. This debate is trying to rewrite history, and we are sending to the people, to the younger people, that You can be celebrated if your courage failed you. You can be celebrated if you do common things uncommonly bad. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the very best you can do, maybe just 1 minute honor, but to attempt to do anything further would be to rubbish the memory of M.K. Abiola and to add insult to the injury.
Thank you. Senator Orwell Oyosi.
Thank you, Mr. President, for finally giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm very grateful. See, we are seated here today, we are talking about a great historical event. One thing we must not allow to come in is sentiment. I'm not from the southeast, I'm not from the southwest, I'm a Nigerian. Humphrey NWOSU was a Nigerian. And at the time he worked, Nigeria was a very complex society, managed by very reckless, very ambitious, very dangerous military leaders. We knew all of them. They shot so many of their mates for no reason. And I'm sure shooting a civilian would be an ordinary event. We knew what happened at that point in time. I am not after getting anything named against his name or giving him a national honor. That is left for the government of the day. But that history must not be distorted. We have kids here. Okay, they are gone. And they are listening. And they take this away. This is one of the highest, the most respected institutions in Nigeria. And so when we want to put facts, we put facts down for others to use. Humphrey NWOSU, to the best of my knowledge and from the functions it performed, is a hero. Now, he established what we are mimicking today. The very INEC we are trying to fine-tune. He laid the foundation.
No, he did NEC. NEC, not INEC. NEC.
They are the same thing. It's a change of name. Change of name. Please, I didn't talk, Professor of War, I listen to you. You listen to me. Now, listen to me and you will listen to me. You will listen to me. Now,
Order!
see the time. I will take my time.
Order, please. It was a mistake, and we get that corrected for him. It was NEC, not INEC. It's just a mere correction. Yes. So, and it's human. Continue.
Yes.
But you have 1 second. You have.
So, sorry, I'll appeal for 2 more seconds because of the disturbance.
No. You have 1 second.
There were elections conducted at that period, not just presidential election. They were successful. Don't forget, he conducted local government elections. They were successful. State elections, House of Assembly, reps, and Senate, they were all successful. Governorship. When it was time for presidential election, we knew the interplay of forces. And
you have 1 second remaining, 1 second.
Well, I want to say that we should be honest and we should be fair to people. Humphrey NWOSU is a hero. Nobody could have done better than he did at the point he performed. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Now, you need, please, you need to be patient because time is running fast. This is one. We'll just have to allow maybe 2-3 people to speak because the time is far against us. No, you speak. You're going to speak. Senator Fadahunsi. We'll come here.
Nobody should cry. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Fadahunsi, Osun East. Generally, most of all the people that are talking about NWOSU, most of them did not know much, as at that time they were very young. Some were still in the university. Now they are here. The elder says, don't judge the dead. Leave him for his creator. NWOSU
was a bloody civilian during Babangida's time. Colonel Kobe, we were in uniform there. My problem is that when it comes to civilian, we want to applaud our people. We have a lot of problems. Right here, one of the generals, and so many, we have celebrated them, that truncated this democracy. Nwosu has done his best. He has gone. The naming of this and that in his name depends on the executive. You can recommend. If the president wants, he will give him. If the president wants national honor, you can give him the best. Because at that time,
Thank you, Father Jose.
we don't want all these things to
Thank you.
to
Now,
drag
please,
us and
we
waste
have
time.
to, because the deputy leader has come here to advise me that time is against us. So I allow Senator Uwoye to speak, and then Senator Olamide will round up. I'm sorry, we can't take it anymore. Please, I'm sorry.
Thank you, my president, our dear distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Tony Uwoye, representing Anambra North. Mr. President, the issue at stake is an appeal I'm making that we should not allow our personal biases, our personal sentiments, and our party affiliations to influence what we are doing here. So far I'm concerned, during the June 12 presidential election, I was a presiding officer. And yes, I just came out from secondary school. I was the presiding officer in that election. That election has been adjudged up to today the freest and fairest election in the history of Nigeria. Mr. President, any Nigerian that googles internet, which election is the freest and fairest election in Nigeria, is the June 12 presidential election. Professor Humphrey NWOSU, a professor of political science from the prestigious University of Nigeria, a civil servant, before he was appointed in 1989, did his best, despite the pressure from Babangida government, despite the court order, Mr. President, allow me, despite the court order by Justice Ibeme that stopped the election, despite all the threats from the military cabal, the man still went ahead to conduct the freest and fairest election. Was it Professor Humphrey NWOSU that made Justice Saleh from Katangum Emirate from Bauchi to annul the election? Was it Justice Professor Humphrey NWOSU that made the military cabal to throw Nigeria into confusion? It is highly unfair. One of my colleagues mentioned about the honor.
How was it going to remain my brother?
Is it because he belongs to a particular political party? Let us not distort facts. It's very disappointing that some of us should be distorting facts just because Professor Humphrey NWOSU is an Igbo man.
Thank you very much.
Allow this motion to
Thank you, sir.
I rest my case.
Thank you. Please, order, please.
Hello, sir.
Now, 99.9% of those who want to speak have spoken. I will allow Senator Samson, Senator Ezenwa, then last.
Hello, sir.
Senator Solomon Olamide.
Thank you very much.
Have a minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate, for allowing me this intervention, as it were. I think we are getting the context of this motion disjointed somewhat. I think the central issue here is not whether we name the content of INEC in memory of NWOSU. The critical issue here is the honor that Nigeria owes this great man. And one of those who is, I'm very passionate about June 12th, very passionate, because I believe that has been one fabric that has challenged our sensibilities as a country. So the central issue here is not naming of the edifice. The central issue here is the honor, because if NWOSU is not celebrated, who must we celebrate? Is it Otonzeribe or the judge who gave that judgment? I am of the opinion that outside whatever might be named after him, which of course is outside our past, as it were, we can at best recommend. But the central issue is that this man showed courage when that was necessary. He had all the opportunity.
You have one second. Your time is off. So those are right. Have the floor. Then Senator Solomon.
So I think we can.
Your time is up. Your time is up.
By naming that edifice after.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ezanwa Onyewuchi, and I represent Imo East Senatorial District of Imo State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am indeed very worried that the achievements of Professor Humphrey NWOSU is being subjected to such fierce debate. There's no doubt, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that Professor Humphrey NWOSU is an architect of the freedom we enjoy today as a nation. Humphrey NWOSU
He has the floor. Allow him to say his mind.
No doubt is
You are
the
protected.
hero of the June 12th election. And there's no doubt that he introduced something that was very novel to us, the option A4, and conducted an election, adjourned the freest election that we
You have 1 second remaining. 1 second.
had. Mr. President, I want to warn or advise that this Senate should not resort to scapegoatism, to say, this is the person that caused this is the person that did not do this. Let us look at things objectively.
Thank you, Senator Solomon. You have the floor.
He played
Everyone, your time is over.
and I want to say, he was not just...
How many minutes, sir?
So,
University
you have the floor.
At the University of Nigeria. Let me round up, Mr. President.
Your time is off.
Because I don't want us to pin Professor NWOSU to just the INEC job he did. He was an erudite professor.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is off, Senator Ezenwa. Solomon Elamulekon, you have the floor. Pro June 12.
Thank you very much, Mr. Representing Ogun West Senatorial District. Mr. President, this is one issue that...
Look. Let me say this for him. You say, where were you? His junior brother died. His junior brother was killed during June 12 saga.
Sir, let me make my submission that I can tell you where I was when it happened.
He's protected. Allow him to speak. He's protected.
He's from NRC. That's why he's speaking like that. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, this is one issue I have tried as much as possible to avoid. Yesterday, when my brother, Senator Abaribe, brought this matter up, I took up and said, no, I will not allow this to happen. Because he's about to remind me a very sad memory. And I'm speaking not along party line or ethnic or whatsoever, as I've watched and listened to the contribution thus far. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, as a result of the action and inaction of Professor Humphrey NWOSU, I lost my immediate junior brother. He died right behind me for him refusing to do or carry out his duty as INEC chairman. Mr. President, many of my colleagues have stood up here and said he conducted the free and fairest election. There are three different meanings and three different interpretations that we should look at: conducting election, releasing results, and announcing results. Yes, he conducted the election. Yes, School of Thought said he releases all the results. But you and I know releasing results is not the same thing as announcing results. He failed at the critical moment when he's supposed to salvage this democracy. Today we celebrate Abiola, or those people who have contributed to the success story of June 12, because they laid their life, they put their life on the line. If he is coward to withdraw in doing what is right at the critical moment,
I think my brothers here should be fair enough. We are not saying you should not bring his matter up. And as my colleague have said, everybody that we have put before us that should be honored, we have celebrated them here. And don't forget, this is the highest law-making body of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where we should see ourselves as one and one Nigeria. Professor Humphrey Nwosù, with due respect to him, because it's now late, does not deserve to be immortalized as one of the very few Nigerians that have done the right thing. And I want to plead with my colleague. As I've said, I'm not speaking along the ethnicity line, along the party line, but I'm speaking as Nigeria. We witnessed the horrific moment.
Thank you. Once again,
of Professor Humphrey Nwosù to carry out his assignment at the most critical hour.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now let's go to prayers. Prayer 1. All the federal government to immortalize him by naming the INEC headquarters in Abuja after him. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Further urges the federal government to posthumously honor him with national honors. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Extend condolences to his family and recognize their sacrifice in support of his work towards a better Nigeria. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. So, hello, sorry. Order! Order! Please, can somebody order? Can somebody move a motion so that we can have a bit silence in his honor and pray for him for his soul to reign in perfect peace? Senator Siri Oluwole Fasui.
Seconded.
A seconder.
Seconded.
Senator Samson Ekong.
My name is Ekong Samson. I represent Akwa Ibom South. I move to support the motion as ably moved that in view of his place in history, that this August Senate do observe a brief silence in memory of Professor Humphrey Nwosù. I so move most respectfully. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion, moved by Senator Cyril Oluwole Fasui from Ekiti State, and seconded by Senator Samson Ekong from Akwa Ibom State. Please say aye. Those against say nay. No. The ayes have it. 1 minute silence, please. May the soul of Professor Humphrey Nwosù rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Head of motion.
The Senate leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is presentation of a House bill standing in the name of Senate
leader. Please let me commend distinguished senators for the maturity and experience that you displayed during this debate. You did very well. You marshal out your points, you say your views, and no rancor at all. And this is how debate should be in an august institution like the Senate. As a presiding officer, I have my view, but I try to be not to be partial. I believe in June 12. I was part and parcel of June 12. I suffered all what others suffered during the June 12 saga. Order. When Abiola came to Kano, he rode in my car, and we're not all happy with what happened during the June 12 problem. But it has happened. And you did very well by stating your points, and the debate went ahead, was conducted in the most conducive atmosphere possible. So please continue to exhibit this kind of maturity in issues that may become controversial or have different, or people having different views. Through robust debate like this is how we can come together to help to build our nation. So thank you very much.
Adjournment.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is presentation of House Bill, standing in my name and the name of Senate Leader of Federal University of Medical and Health Sciences, ITEM, Bende, Establishment Bill 2025, HB 25. Mr. President, Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Medical and Health Sciences, ITEM Bende Establishment Bill 2025, HB 25, first reading.
Federal University of Medical and Health Sciences, ITEM Bende Establishment Bill 2025, HR 25, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the second business of the day is presentation of a House bill standing in the name of Leader of the Senate on Federal College of Education, Bende Establishment Bill 2025, HB 125. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Bende, Establishment Bill 2025, HB 125, first reading.
Federal College of Education, Bende, Establishment Bill 2025, HB 125, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the third business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Adaramodu Adeyemi Raphael on National Youth Council of Nigeria Bill 2025 SB 761. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Youth Council of Nigeria Bill 2025 SB 761, first reading.
National Youth Council of Nigeria Bill 2025, SB 761, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Nwoko Ned Munir on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2025 SB 767.
Clerk of the Senate.
President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Act, Amendment Bill 2025 SB 767, first reading.
Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 767, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the fifth business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Simon Bakola Long on Federal Universities of Agriculture. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Universities of Agriculture Act Amendment Bill 2025, SB 768, first reading.
Federal Universities of Agriculture Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 768, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the sixth business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Yisa Ashiru Yelola on Federal University of History and Archaeology. Sir? Archaeology, Kwara State. Establishment Bill 2025, SB 769. Mr.
Clerk of the
President,
Senate.
you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of History and Archaeology, ISE, Kwara State Establishment Bill 2025, SB 769, first reading.
Federal University of History and Archaeology, SCA, Kwara State Establishment Bill 2025, SB 769, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the first order of the day is the motion standing my name on the amendment of standing orders of the Senate pursuant to Order 109 of Senate Standing Order 2023 as amended. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion.
Minority Leader. No. You can continue. Just move the motion.
Page 3? No, 2? Eh? Yes. Page 3. The brief. Is here now? Is it not page 1? Amendment of Standing Order of Senate pursuant to Order 109 of Senate Standing Order 2023 as amended. Sponsor, Bamidele Michael Okweyemi, the Senate Leader. The Senate knows that the Senate Standing Order was amended in 2023 to accommodate issues that will make the orders dynamic to facilitate effective legislative process.
Leader. Sorry, he has to step it down because we need two-thirds majority to amend our rules. And we certainly don't have it.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, observing the present situation in the Senate and standing on Order 109 sub 5, I wish to step down the motion till another day.
You're stepping down this motion because we need 2/3 majority to amend our rules. And as you can see, we don't have that number here. So, Manuel, may second the motion.
President, I second the motion as moved. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and second by minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the second order of the day is second reading of Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 701. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 12 February 2025. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Saliu Mustafa to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator Saliu Mustafa. Please, you may wish to summarize the...
Okay, sir. Your Excellency, the President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Saliu Mustafa, representing Kwara Central. Mr. President, distinguished senators, permit me to lead the debate on this all-important bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act, Amendment Bill 2025 SB 701. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, the 12th of February, 2025. Mr. President,
you need a second
colleagues,
okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Electoral Act number 13 was enacted in 2022 to repeal the Electoral Act number 6 of 2010.
Senator Mustafa, just move a proper motion that you stand to move for the second reading of this bill.
Okay. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to move that the lead debate on the bill to amend the Electoral Act, Bill number 2025 SB 701, be taken.
You can go ahead.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Electoral Act number 13 was enacted in 2022 to repeal the Electoral Act number 6 of 2010, and to regulate the conduct of federal, state, and area councils in the Federal Capital Territory elections and for related matters. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the proposed bill aims to amend the Electoral Act 2022, which was a major improvement over the repealed Electoral Act of the 2010, but which has some significant gaps due to some oversights necessitating the amendment. It is worthy of noting that the 2022 Electoral Act, despite the improvement, hasn't significantly reduced the financial burden of elections on the federal government of Nigeria. The proposed amendment aims to create a more efficient and cost-effective electoral process that will enhance greater participation of citizens. The inadequacies of the extant Electoral Act 2022 have also resulted in the exclusion of elected office holders, which include the President, Vice President, members of the National Assembly, governors and their deputies, members of the State House of Assembly, chairmen of local government, councillors, members of the National Working Committee of Political Parties, among others, from participating in the convention, congress, or meeting of their political parties they belong to. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the objectives of this bill is as straightforward. 1, to reduce the overall cost of elections in Nigeria. 2, to reduce the campaign period. 3, allow elected office holders to participate as ad hoc delegates. 4, provide the timing of elections, declaration, and swearing in of elected candidates. 5, address other related issues to enhance citizen participation in elections, among others. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the proposed bill, when passed into law, aims to reduce the cost of election in Nigeria, which has been on a steady rise since 1998. The cost of the general election increased from 1.5 billion to 350 billion in 2023. This exceptional increase is unsustainable and undermines the democratic process. The bill proposed holding election on the same day and date to enable the government to minimize the cost associated with prolonged campaign periods and staggered elections. Same-day election will also increase voters' turnout and promote greater citizen engagement in the electoral process. It will reduce the cost of elections and promote a more efficient electoral process, which will strengthen our democratic institutions and promote an inclusive and preparatory democracy that will reduce logical challenges. The bill further proposed to reduce the campaign period. This approach is expected to lessen the financial burden on the political parties, candidates, and government. This will also help to minimize the impact of campaign activities on governance. By adopting this strategy, Nigeria can align itself with best global practice and promote a more efficient and cost-effective electoral process. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the ultimate aim is to address the inefficiencies of staggered election, which are not only costly but also ineffective. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill will also allow for the participation of elected office holders as ad hoc delegates to participate in the conventions, congresses, and meetings of their respective political parties. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, like I earlier enumerated, the key benefits of these proposed bills are there to be seen, which is reduced financial burden, improved citizen participation, improved efficiency, enhanced democracy, decreased economic losses, reduced political tension, amongst others. Conclusion, Mr. President. Yes. Conclusion. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, nations with larger democratic experience, such as the United States, India, and Brazil, have successfully implemented same-day elections, demonstrating its effectiveness in reducing costs and enhancing the electoral process. Adopting this approach in Nigeria can significantly minimize the financial burden on the government, minimize the economic losses associated with staggered elections, and prolong campaign periods, thereby reducing the political tension and uncertainty associated with staggered elections. With same-day election, Nigeria can reduce substantially expenses incurred by Independent National Electoral Commission in conducting the election over multiple days. The proactive step can help save government funds, which can be allocated to other critical infrastructure development projects. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I appeal to my colleagues and this hallowed chamber that this amendment proposed in this bill will enrich and deepen our democracy. I urge you all to support the expeditious passage of this bill into law so that this 10th Senate can prioritize the collective interests of all Nigerians and contribute to a more efficient and cost-effective process. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I so move.
Please, is there anybody against this bill? Those in favor that this bill be read the second time, please. You oppose it? Okay.
Mr. President, I have listened attentively, and I think it is important that we are thorough in lawmaking, and that in making laws are made for today and the even unforeseeable future. I think we should debate each of the recommendations. The one that I have problem with, for example, is the idea of conducting all elections the same day. I do not believe that majority of the voters, particularly in the rural areas, and given the terrain in some part of the country, that one person will give in 5 or 6 ballot papers one day to vote, and you will not end up having a mix-up here and there. Nobody has passed other than emphasizing.
Thank you, Senator Shomole. Thank you. Let me remind you that this is the second reading. It will still go to the committee where it will be scrutinized, analyzed, and so on and so forth. And then it will go to public hearing. So please.
But sir, with due respect, we have a right to debate it at the second reading.
No, but we have accepted. You are the only one against it. We have accepted that. We put the votes.
Are you sure I'm the only one?
You are the only one.
Those
in favor that this be read second time, please.
All of you are way. Okay.
Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I be for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2022